Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer. I recently applied for Australian citizenship, and they asked if I had a criminal history. I didn't know it was still required. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at ARCs, Conflict and Collapse in the Reach from Leader Games. ARCs, Conflict and Collapse in the Outer Reach from Leader Games is for 2 to 4 players. It's a game in which the various factions take on the roles of space empires as they attempt to dominate by gaining the most victory points. Now, each player and their player color is going to get a number of spaceship tokens and agents, city tokens, and various other tokens you're going to place on the board, power cubes. Now, you're going to get your own player board, which is going to have spaces for some of those tokens, as well as spaces for other resources that you can gain over the course of the game. Now, at the beginning of the game, you have options to place out leader cards and lore cards that will kind of give you an asymmetrical play. And we did play this game with the lore and leader pack, which gave us more options for lore and leaders. So you go ahead, you place those out, and each player is going to be able to take a leader and a lore card that are going to give them, as I say, certain powers or abilities, and maybe some things that could potentially harm them. Now, you've got a number of setup cards, and you're going to look at the setup cards to kind of see which areas of the board you control. The board itself kind of has a ring of spaces and then an outer ring with various worlds and planets that you can take over and control. And essentially, you can move in adjacent spaces kind of within the same section. But if you want to go to different sections, you actually have to go out and around in that ring. And if you start in a city space, then you can just kind of go out until you are forced to stop by another ship. Otherwise, you can just move to an adjacent space. Now, you're also going to have a number of Vox and Guild cards, which you're going to place off to the side, and then you're going to shuffle the action cards and pass those out to the players. Now, each player is going to get, as I say, a number of action cards. These have numbers on them, and these numbers are associated with different abilities you can do during the game. Now, on the game board, you're going to have a scoring track along the bottom, but you're also going to have kind of ways you can score off to the side, and a little bit more on that later. Now, the game is kind of a trick-taking game, not really a trick-taking game. I've heard it described as trick-taking adjacent. But essentially, on a player's turn, what he's going to do is he's going to play the lead card. He's going to put the lead card down. And this lead card will do a few things. First of all, they can take that action and they can do it the full number of times. There's pips on there to tell you how many times you can take that action. They can go ahead and do it all. But additionally, they can declare an ambition. So essentially, they can take the ambition marker and put that on there, and depending on what number card they played, they can go ahead and put essentially a number of scoring markers on that particular ambition. And that means that until the end of the round, that's what that particular scoring area will score at that time. Now, other players have some options when they see that lead card. Now, the next player can go ahead and play different cards. They can play a card that is of the same suit but a higher number. If they play that, they can go ahead and they can do all of the actions on their card. You can choose to pivot, meaning you can play one card of any other suit, and you can play one action, no matter how many pips are on there, just one action from the card you played. You can choose to copy the lead card by playing your card face down, and you can take one action from the lead card. Now, if someone actually surpassed, you're going to go ahead and you're going to, of course, discard those cards, and the player that did the surpassing, they get the initiative token for the next round. Now, the different actions are you can build. You can either build spaceships, or you can build cities, on the planets you control or spaceports on the planets you control. You can also repair ships and your cities by flipping them up. Now, when a ship or city is damaged, you actually flip them sideways. Here, you can flip them back up to normal. You can choose to tax a resource from a city. Essentially, every planet is going to have a resource on it, and you can take one of those resources and put it on your player board in the appropriate spot. You can play a move action. As I say, you can move to an adjacent space, or if they start in a city location, you can send them to around the ring to any location until they hit another player, at which point they would have to stop. You can play an influence action. Essentially, you can go ahead and place one of your agents on one of the guild or vox cards, hoping to gain that card for yourself. Finally, you can play a secure action. If you have more agents on a card than anybody else, you can go ahead and claim that card for yourself and use that card. Now, when your ships move into a system or space with other ships of another faction, they're going to engage in combat. Now, your lore cards or your leader cards or some of the cards you've gotten from Guild or Vox may give you certain advantages in combat. Now, when you're looking at your ships, essentially you can roll dice for all your ships, but you have to determine which dice you're going to roll. Now, you can roll the skirmish dice. These are blue dice, which potentially can hit your enemy. There's not a great chance of it happening, but there's going to be no damage to you. Or you can roll the red assault dice. Now, the assault dice are going to cause much more damage to the enemy potentially, but there is also potential that it will cause you damage as well. Finally, you have the orange raid dice. Now, when you play these, a few things can happen. You can damage kind of cities or spaceports, but also, too, you can get keys. And these keys can unlock cards, which allow you to steal cards from other players. Players have cards in front of them. During combat, if they get enough keys, they can steal one of those cards and put it in their play area. Now, instead of stealing cards, they can steal resources from your player board. They can take them and put them on their own player board. Now, once no one has any cards left in your hand, you score the ambitions. So over the course of the round, various tokens worth score points will drop down on that kind of scoring area, and you'll go one by one and see what potentially you have scored for. Now, the first thing you can score is Tycoon. Whoever has the most material and fuel tokens, they're going to go ahead and score that. Next, you're going to have the Tyrant. Now, the Tyrant who's taken captives, and there are different ways to take captives during the game, those agents out there. Whoever has the most captives, they're going to score that ambition. You're also going to have the Warlord. The Warlord is the person that has destroyed the most enemy ships. They collect them as trophies. Whoever has the most trophies can score the Warlord. Next, you'll have the Keeper. Now, in different cards and places on the board, you'll have the Relic icon. Whoever has the most relics will score the Keeper. You'll also have the empath, which is the psionics. The psionic is a symbol, again, on cards in various places on the board. Whoever has the most psionic icons, they will score that during the phase. Now, again, you're only scoring those parts of the score area that have the ambition tokens next to them. Now, the point marker has a higher number and a lower number. Whoever comes in first will gain the higher number. Whoever comes in second will get the lower number. In the case of a tie of first players, they actually will both get the second number. But what this means is at the beginning of a round, you're kind of betting on what you think you will score well at and placing that ambition marker there. Next, you're going to go ahead and do some housekeeping. Essentially, you're going to bring flip the ambition marker back. But what you're going to do here critically is advance to the next chapter if somebody hasn't won the game. There are certain, depending on player count, there's certain places where when you reach that score marker, you will win the game. If no one has won the game by that point, you're drawing new cards. But players are going around and around. They are playing these cards. They're doing the trick taking here, and they are attempting to go ahead and score on those various score places. Whoever is first to score the required number of points wins. Arcs, Conflict and Collapse in the Reach. We'll get back to the review in just a moment. I want to take a minute to ask you to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about history, books on history, military history. I even post some of my lectures for my classes on there. Please check that out. Please subscribe to that channel. And now, back to the review. All right, so Arcs, Conflict and Collapse in the Reach. This is a game that I'd seen a lot of people talk about. I'd seen a lot of videos up on BGG and people writing about it. This appeared to be one that people really enjoyed. And I honestly Didn't know too much about it. I think there was a Kickstarter I did not participate in. I wasn't aware of it. And I'm always a sucker for a good space game, a good space opera spaceships game. I love them. And so this is one I was thinking, oh, this is great. And then I heard it was a trick taking game. And I gotta be honest, I'm not a huge fan of trick taking games. But I was like, I really like the theme. Not a fan of that mechanic. We'll see what happens. Well, I'm pleased to report this, in the strictest sense, isn't a trick taking game. It's, as I say, trick taking adjacent, which is good for me. I want to talk a little bit about the aesthetic. It's kind of these cartoons. It almost looks retro, maybe 1960s or something, and it's great. I love the aesthetic of this game. I think it is beautiful. I think it is really good. It's really fun. I really like to. I can't imagine playing this game without the leaders and lore cards, and you can, but why would you want to? This game is so much fun with that randomness, and I shouldn't say randomness. I guess it's not entirely random, but with that asymmetry and the idea that some people are going to have certain abilities. Like I was able to get this combination of cards that made me pretty powerful in combat, right, in that first game. And so people weren't going to come, didn't come at. I think they came after me once or twice, and they learned it wasn't a good idea. So I really enjoyed the asymmetry and the differences that brought to the game, the flavor that brought to the game. I actually thought the trick taking here, such as it is, was pretty fun and gave you some really good choices. I was very hesitant to think, I don't know if I like this idea of just playing these cards and that determines my actions, but man, it was fun. It was really engaging. I got a big kick out of that. I was super impressed with that aspect of the game as well. Much to my chagrin, I didn't think I'd care for that. I really, really did. I think too the ambitions and the way that plays is awesome because there's different areas to score in, and you get to choose as the players. If you get initiative, you can play a card. Okay, I want to put the score there, betting on the idea that I think I can get that one, and then seeing how that plays out, and then other people see that and think, well, maybe I can make a play for that too. It's really good. It is really, really fun the way you're anticipating the scoring here in this game. Just phenomenal. I have to say, one of my absolute favorite things about arcs is I love in combat the fact that you can choose the dice. You can play this conservative game and just do the skirmish dice, the blue skirmish dice, or you can be a little bit more ambitious and play the red dice and be willing to take your own hits. Because the guy that's defending is not rolling dice. You're the only one that's rolling dice, but you can potentially do yourself damage. Or do I want to do the raids? Do I want to try to steal stuff from people, or do I want to hurt the cities and whatnot? I can't tell you how much I enjoyed that aspect of the game. It was so much fun. I love games where you have choices with the dice, where it's not just about rolling the dice. It's about kind of manipulating the dice before you roll them and making decisions about it. I think it's a great idea, and it's so much fun here. And I really, really think that was fantastic and well done. But with all of the like the guild cards and kind of how they're in the box cards when you're bringing those in and you're using those abilities too. This game just has so many surprises. It's just a delight. We all really enjoyed it. I must confess, I enjoyed this game far more than I thought I was going to. I have to tell you, in addition to the leaders and lore cards we played with, they did send me the mini pack. Leader Games did send me the mini pack, so the minis are not included. It's actually wooden things you're using in the base game, but they sent me the minis, which look great. I think the wooden stuff looks great, to be honest, but I think the minis are even more fun. I love the way they look. This game is amazing. I really enjoyed Arcs. Great science fiction game that, gosh, just really grabbed a hold of me, and I really enjoyed. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to say a 9 on the Cody scale. One of the best games of 2024, in my opinion. Tremendous fun. I can't recommend it enough. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, I'd ask you to please give a thumb to this video on YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please check us out on Facebook and Twitter, and please leave a thumb for this video on Board Game Geek as well. If you like what we do here, please check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about history, military history, books on history, those sorts of things. I even put up some of my lectures on that channel. It would mean the world to me if you would subscribe to that channel. And if you do really enjoy the stuff we do here, I would humbly ask you to click on the Super Thanks button and leave a tip. You know, my class recently had to assemble a skeleton, but as a joke, I hid one of the arm bones. Nobody found that humorous. Please somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band. I played the Build the Army, and this was there for attrition.
So you're just doing the bottom part, right?
Oh yeah. Sorry, two. You
only
use two. I'm sorry. That was my mistake. You only use two. And then, it was an honest mistake.